Man, that music just gets me hyped, Matt. I'm sorry. Hi, this is Josh Mitchell, your host of BDC Raw, and I have a wonderful guest. Everybody knows him in the automotive space. He's auto famous, Mr. Matt Raymond. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Josh. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. I was telling Matt before we started the show, it's 80 degrees in Austin, Texas. It says it's not in North Carolina.
Nah, it's like 50-ish.
50's not that bad. Come on, man. North Carolina's not that bad. It doesn't get that cold. I mean, y'all had some snow recently, but we're good.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is having the 5 stores. We have one in the mountains and one, down by the beach and everything in between. So if you want snow, you can find it. If you want the sand, you can find it.
See, perfect world. I keep, you reached out to the LinkedIn family saying that you wanted to start a podcast and you're talking about craft beer and BDC. And I think you even threw in dogs. I don't know where you were going with the dog one, but sure, man, whatever about dogs. This is our BDC. We're going to call this one BDC, bigger, badder, and smarter. And I'm actually drinking because it's my day off. I'm not drinking alcohol. Let me just start with that. I'm not drinking alcohol if you're just listening to this. But I have my Topo Chica and lime, which is amazing drink if you haven't had it. If you can get it where you're at, you need to drink it. And they're not sponsoring the show by any means.
They might be by the end of it all.
By the end of it all, I might get a sponsor out of this. But yeah, try yourself one. Do you like the soda water type things?
Yeah, I'll drink soda waters, like in the summertime, especially like after mowing the lawn or something. It's.
So this is just like that with lime. You put vodka in it; it'll make it good.
I think you can put vodka in pretty much anything at this point. 2020 kind of told everybody what you can add vodka to, and that was anything.
That was anything. Vodka with ice. Yeah, good one.
Vodka with a glass.
But we survived 2020.
We did.
We survived it. Barely. I almost got out of 2020 without having COVID. And then December 27th, I got it. Luckily had just a mild case. I almost survived it without getting it, but ultimately I ended up with it. But we survived 2020. You guys bought another 2 stores during a pandemic.
Yeah. One on a cruise during a pandemic.
It's one of those situations, North Carolina was fairly shut down for a little while. Like we didn't know what we were going to be able to do and what we couldn't do. But business has been good. Yep. And BDC's always been a passion of mine. It's been a passion of yours. You've been in the marketing side of different things and being with team you've been there, 2 years now?
Yeah, almost 3. It'll be 3 in April. So I just talking to the wife the other day about it. And I was like, holy cow, it's almost been 3 years that we've been down here.
Yeah. And so we're going to go with BDC, bigger, better, and smarter. And my question for you is how?
I mean, it starts at the leadership level, right? I mean, it starts from, how do you lead and direct and guide people in everything you're doing? And then it goes all the way down to what are you measuring? Recently took a phone call today from my performance manager for our CRM. And he said to me, he goes, hey, what are you looking at for call volume and stuff like that? And I said, listen, please tell me you're asking this because the dealer's asking you. And he goes, they are. And I said, the funny thing is that they want to measure the call volume, but one of our top agents in our BDC here, she does a phenomenal job. She averages 53 calls a day, but every conversation she has is pushing for an appointment. So it's like the old metrics of, hey, you got to make 100 phone calls and hey, you got, what did you do today? How many appointments did you generate? How many people showed up and how many people sold? And how do we improve that?
Yeah. And I think with going with the metrics, I think for so long, they pushed the 100. We need to make 150 calls and do it. I want you to get through your task. That's my pain. I got through my task. Well, you schedule nothing. So you just got to do your task. Like I can get through my task. I can click right through those and get right through them real quick. But when you're looking at the metrics of what did you do during the day and what did you accomplish is a better metric. If I only got through 50 or 60 phone calls, but I set 10 appointments and 5 showed up and we sold 3 of them, that's better than me doing 150 tasks and 150 calls and scheduling one appointment that didn't show.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we look at it, well, she's killing it, man. She made 150 calls. Well, the girl didn't set an appointment. Who'd she call?
Well, and that's the thing, the dealers doing, we have technology in our organization here that we track all the calls, right? So the way the technology works with the phone system is we can look at the phone calls they're making and start grabbing like numbers and stuff. And you wouldn't believe that, there's times where you'll find 2 or 3 calls to that same phone number. It's like, well, maybe the person didn't answer, or maybe they're excited to pick up the phone, make a call. The number you called has been disconnected. All right, let's have a conversation and see what's going on here. You always like the conversations where they go, yeah, I called it, but I thought they might pay their phone bill and get it turned back on. It's like, you know what? I'll give you credit on following up. I appreciate that, but you don't want to turn it to turn into a faking situation. And we've all worked in BDCs where we've had, they're like, wait a second, if I have to hit 100 calls, I know nobody's answering at that number. Let me call that. And how many dealers actually have outbound call tracking?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've seen it all from because it used to be in the metrics at dealer socket. I think it was the phone call had to be 20 seconds or more for it to log that you made the call. And we had someone who memorized the number to some sort of like doctor's office that had a long list of like commands to get to somebody. That was 20 something seconds, and he had called them like 30 times. I'm like, dude, like if you're listening to this and you don't think that your people are smart enough to do dumb shit, I mean, they will. They'll work harder to figure out how to not do it than to actually do it sometimes.
Yeah, and that's genius on Dealer Socket's thing, because I recently talked to a really cool company outside of automotive, and they're diving into automotive. And, one of the things that they were saying is that, 19 seconds is when a voicemail will click on. And I'm like, I never even knew that. Because listen, I'm not calling Josh, and I'm not waiting until Josh's voicemail picks up, just so you know. So I never really counted how many seconds it took, and when, we jump into the seat of BDC, I'm over there and I'm not paying attention to how many times it rings and how long it rings. I'm over there while that call's ringing. I'm firing off some texts and some emails to some other people, we've got agents that do that too, it's awesome, right? You got the agents that can sit there and email people and text people while they're dialing the phone. We've had some of them log into 2 phone systems because we use voice over IP and stuff. They'll log into 2 phone systems and they got both phones going at the same time. I don't get in the way of that. That's not me. Like, I'm a man. I can do one thing at a time. And that's like,
That's why we're calling this bigger, better, and smarter, because that is, the biggest thing is, everybody has looked at, and I looked at some different comments on some different things recently, and it's how to make your BDC smaller and more efficient. And that's because there's a cost involved. We both know there's a cost involved in having a BDC. But at what point do you even think that is even possible to shrink it to the point where it's not what they view as a cost to the dealership?
Yeah, so one of the things we do is we measure, let me go backwards. So we've all had the vendor that shows up and says, hey, if you sell 3 cars, this program's going to pay for itself, right?
Yes, right. Yeah.
But what they failed to put in there was the electric bill, the man hours, the paper, the internet, because that's all stuff that goes against the cost of, or against your, your gross to bring down your net. But when we look at our BDC, we look at how many appointments does each rep need to have each day for us to say, hey, we need to add a rep, or hey, we're staffed just right. And so that's what we do all the time. Jake, he's in our BDC and stuff. And that's one of the things we meet every Thursday at 1 p.m. And that is, what did you average per rep, per rep, per appointment, per store, per week? And when we find that matrix, when we set goals, and our goal of where we want to be, and then like our, what we call our the check number is not always dead on. Jake gives me one number of, hey, I promise you I'm going to hit this every week, pandemic or no pandemic. And then we have the other number that says, hey, if we ever get over this number, we need to hire people. Mm-hmm. And that's how we've done it. And we're getting away from the, BDC agent doesn't need to handle 275 leads. It makes my skin cringe when I, pop into these automotive groups. Yeah, I'm handling 500 leads. When should I get a helper? I don't know, about 400 leads ago. I don't know what to tell you. Well, it's not too bad. I only work 6 days a week, and I don't have to work bell to bell. I leave at 7. We close at 8. And it's just like, well, that dealer's doing good. But what they're not realizing is that, yeah, they're looking at their budget and stuff, but they're completely missing the fact that if I had 4 agents handling 400 to 500 leads, and they were focused and dialed in on making sure they call that person in the morning and call that person in the afternoon. Did I send a text? Did I send an email? They're going to see such a huge rate of return. I'm sure you can speak to this too, Josh, but our contact rate now, we don't function in a month below 70%. And I'm using 70%. Oh, yeah. We have one store that, sits close to, if not 80%. Most of them are right around 73 to 75. But never below 70. And some of these people I talk to are like, yeah, I'm excited. My contact rate's up. I got 40% contact. And I'm like, you guys use carrier pigeons or what's kind of going on here? Because in the day and age of texting, if you're not firing out a text to try to engage them, and get them to get a hold of you, I think that's one of those things that, is a missed opportunity.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's all about, obviously, I've always, I've had the same question, how many leads can a rep handle? And then they tell me what their people are handling, and I just puke a little bit, you're missing the boat, because when they always go, well, it's going to cost us X amount. Well, it's costing you more than that right now because your reps can't handle that much. You're overworking them. They're not able to get to everything. The speed in which they work is not as fast as you need it to be because they're overwhelmed, and you're missing the boat. You're missing it 100% on how to grow your business because you're just stuck in, well, it's going to cost me $2,500 a month if I add somebody.
Yeah. Yep. No, you're 100% right. And I mean, realistically, right? You add somebody, if they sell you 3 cars, they're going to pay for themselves.
Maybe that's what we should start doing as internet directors. It's like, well, if I add this person, all I have to do is sell 3 cars. I've paid for him. So that's what we'll take it from the vendor side, guys, and just throw that out there and be like, hey, all we have to do is sell 2 cars, and I've paid for Joe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, BDCs exist because, following up got to be too much for salespeople. And that's not a dig at salespeople. There's some we know that don't follow up, but then there's also some that just have a lot on their plate, right? And people are busier nowadays. People don't come in and kick tires on Saturday because they can get on the internet and kick tires. Mm-hmm. And that's when we come into play. We've got to have a trained staff that can speak the language. And we don't get deep with our staff in letting them know that there are 267,000 combinations and ways to build a Silverado, and they got to know the, different axle ratios and stuff. We don't get into any of that stuff with them. What we want them to do is sell the sizzle of why they should come to the dealership, why they should visit us and buy from us. And when we get those people that say, hey, listen, I want an out the door number. I want you to give me the best deal, whatever it is. They try for the appointment a couple times, and then it winds up in the manager. If they can't get it, what we do is we just connect them with the store. And the reason is because at that point, they're going to give you all the information, and we'll give them everything, but let them talk to the people they're going to come in and meet at that point, And we did that for December, and we finished at 226 units, and it was, just solid. And we're seeing our CSI scores go up too. Yeah. Because what we're not running into then, right? Anytime numbers are discussed now, we're not running into your person in the call center said this. It's like, nope, you talk to the person that gave you the numbers. I'm here right now. I sent it to you. I texted it to you, or whatever it is. It's right here. But we're finding out that, I don't know about you guys, but we don't get many people that go, hey, I want to know all your out the door numbers, and that's it, and I'm not coming in. It's like 5% of the people. Everybody else is just kind of like, hey, do you have the car? Can I come down and drive it? And do I have to wear a face mask or not?
Yeah. I think it's, I work in the best of both worlds. I've been in the BDC where it's been 100% BDC. I've done the 5 rooftop BDC centralized. Like I've done it all now. Now I have an internet sales team and a BDC. Have the best of both worlds, so to speak. I have some cradle to graves and I have a BDC all in the same office. And what has worked for us is, I have some internet guys that are, they're getting that 80 to maybe 100 leads, maybe 100, but most of the time they're 70 to 80. I have my BDC reps getting in that probably about 150, sometimes 170. They have other things on their plate. What I found is that, it is like the speed. Now, I have a little bit different. I actually desk deals for my internet sales guys, so they have like the best of every world that you can think of. I've kind of created it at Capital because the speed in which we operate. We operate at a just like you guys. They're the foot's on the gas. We're going like. And so, but it's the speed in which you get the numbers, the speed in which you call the customer, speed in which you answer the questions, the speed of every single thing that we do. It's all about getting faster and getting better.
And that's one of the things we do. Like when we TO it to a manager, we put in place the 15-minute rule. From the time that lead comes in till they get those numbers, they will get moved to a manager if that's what they want. And we want our managers doing it because we want to find out, just some of those little other questions that it's better to have a manager. Like if the customer starts going down the rate road, we don't need, the BDC agent going down the rate road. It's let them handle it, let them get the credit app. And the other thing with that too is we don't need our credit apps coming into a centralized call center and it's people's personal information. Let's get it. Yeah, let's get it to the right store. And we're finding a lot of success with it. One of the things we have talked about as we grow is having somebody that is actually sitting in the BDC, desking those deals, and getting those numbers out to customers right then and there. But like I said, 15-minute rule. We're 2 minutes on a response time right now, and then we're at a 15 or less to get the customer out the door numbers if that's what they need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where, as we evolve, I mean, obviously different states, different things that you can or cannot do from the different restrictions with COVID. We have a lot of people who are going to still want to go down I won't call it the rabbit hole, but I guess for lack of better words, of doing an at-home delivery or doing everything up front and then having the vehicle delivered, or they're ready to rock and roll. Like that's going to be a thing where I think I don't think it ever goes away. What are your thoughts on that one?
I don't think it does. I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and we haven't done a lot of at-home deliveries. I think maybe we've done one, or we haven't done any where we've had somebody sign at home. We've had some people like pop in real quick, sign the paperwork, and then say, drive the car to me and like run out of the store. We haven't done any like deliveries with paperwork and everything. Do I think it's going to go that way? Maybe. I can tell you this: I don't think it's going to be because of all these amazing digital retailing tools, for lack of a better term, that we're putting on our website. That's the most clunky operation going. Let me click 16 buttons and enter my information 15 times.
It was supposed to make it easier, Matt.
Yeah. Amazon has add to cart. I end up with more crap on my front porch every day because that's one button to put. I think my phone accidentally orders stuff in my pocket half the time. But we're gonna. I think there'll be. We're never gonna get away from it anymore. The pandemic opened us up to, hey, how can we help out customers and how can we go to them? But I think there's going to be a need to. Well, you guys sell a ton of cars. I see, the posts on Facebook and stuff. You guys sell a ton of cars on Saturday. You don't have a 4-hour finance process. It wouldn't work. You guys would be there. You'd never leave. So I think some of that stuff gets sped up. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But you hit the nail on the head with one word, and that was evolve, right? We just got to constantly be looking at and evolving. And, we're working on some changes for our side of things, too. I mean, we do get the good old-fashioned tire kickers in here on a Saturday. You know what? If you don't want to make an appointment and you want to come in and kick tires, we're going to let you. but we're also going to let the person that comes in on the internet deal jump ahead of everybody in finance because they're paying the online price. They want to rock and roll. They brought their bank check. Let's get them signed up and get them out. So,
Yeah, I think the speed in finance is one thing that, in my opinion, has to get better. I mean, we do a decent job, and we're not even close to being where we should be, and that's one thing that gets a little clunky. Because I mean, we'll do on average right now, we'll do 5 to 10 a week at home deliveries.
oh wow.
Yeah, obviously it's a different market for whatever reason. Texas, Austin area, they seem to like that type of environment. But I mean, we just delivered one to Houston and Corpus Christi. I mean, we'll go down that far, which is crazy, but we do it. I mean, and so I think it's a convenience factor for some consumers, and I think we have to just eventually continually involve with that to make the speed in which we operate faster and faster. So when it comes to that customer or an in-house, customer coming into the actual dealership, that the speed in which we operate becomes a little bit better. I think a lot of people are learning that they can do it from their seats at home and just be on their merry way. And I do want to ask you a question, because when you're talking about being better and faster and smarter, do you think as BDCs that we are going to go to an almost 24/7 365? Because I've heard this one from too many people recently, and I have my opinion. But I want yours first.
So I've always thought about that. It's funny you bring that up.
Slope. It's a slippery slope.
It's funny you bring that up, because the other day I was sitting at home and, I get everything on my phone, right? Those of us that are in this business all the time, we see everything that comes across. And, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, the new thing now is with our phone system, I get abandoned call reports, right? So I get 3 abandoned calls at 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, who in their right mind is calling the dealership at 11 o'clock at night? And I'm thinking, should we have somebody staffed here till maybe midnight? What about all night? Yeah, I don't know if we'll be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in sales, especially in North Carolina. I mean, don't call them on a Sunday; they'll bless you out. And we work our BDC on Sundays, but I think for the service side of things, that's going to be something to put into consideration. We have a big thread out there because, we also have service BDC too. We have a big thread out there with the Jiffy Lubes and the Valvolines and stuff like that. Why? Because it's 30 minutes in and out. You don't have to talk to anybody. You drive over the guy's head. He's dropping your oil before you're even out of your car. And then, there's nobody really kind of upselling you. They're supposed to, but they probably don't, because they're paid hourly and there's no real bonuses to anything. And they're moving you on. So some of that stuff, like, as I look at how we grow and scale, there's a lot of things to take into consideration with how we're going to do this so that we can remain competitive with these kind of businesses, and especially like Carvana and Vroom and whoever else pops up today and tomorrow, and the way that they speak about things and the way that they want us to do deliveries and all this other stuff. But like what they don't talk about is like how badly like it is to get your registration paperwork, right? Or something happens with your car, who the heck do you call? And that's where we've got to sell ourselves as, hey, we've been here for you for 100 years and we're still going to be here for you. We're not going away. We'll adapt. Just tell us what we've got to do to make it work.
Yeah, and I think with with any type, and I know there's obviously some advertising issues that I have with Carvana and what they're doing. To the regular car dealerships and then the family-owned businesses that are out there. So I have my own thing on that one, but it is one of those things where if that's the way that, so to speak, when I talk about advertising for Carvana, it's the stay at home, it's the drop off, it's the we'll give you value on your trade, all of those things we can do.
We can.
It's amazing.
We can do that they're not doing. Oh, your kid needs a sponsorship for a little league team? No problem. Come see us.
Exactly.
I mean, this is the stuff that they're not writing checks for. I shouldn't say that now. They have a big dang billboard on a little league field. Where's that Matt guy work? Go down there and put up a Carvana concession stand. But it's but that's not we employ 305 employees within our organization, 5 stores throughout the state of North Carolina. We provide them with medical benefits. We provide them with a 401k. Every employee receives some sort of life insurance. If you're in management, it's a little more, and so on. If you're, if you come to our company Christmas party, we, other than this year, but every year we've put on a big company Christmas party. They have it catered. We give away prizes, TVs, gift cards, all this stuff, right? This stuff isn't cheap. It's not free. This stuff is also a company that cares about their family, right? We families and stuff like that. You start selling out to these big companies, they're not throwing a company Christmas party like that. Like, you're just a number. And there's plenty of people that work for companies right now where they're just a number. And, yeah, that's great that, you can get something faster or dropped off at your house, but at some point in time, you're going to lose all those connections and we just turn into a bunch of robots. And when it comes to buying a house, buying a car, or buying a boat, I want to talk to somebody that's a professional, that works in that knows about it, and that wants to build a relationship with me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's, and I think that's what dealers have to do, for everything, for their sake of their business development center, to everything, is get a little bit more personal about who you actually are. Like, that's the thing. Like, you employ so many people, you do so many different things for your community, and you can do the exact same thing that a car dealership can do, or Carvana can do, but better.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you have an issue with your title, come see me. If you have an issue with your car, we have a service department. It's not a 7. I get the whole 7-day return, but then you have to go through that whole process, which is another thing. It's just a mind-boggling system that they make you go through. And so, as dealerships, we just have to figure out how we get bigger, better, and faster, smarter, everything on that side of how we do business, because there are consumers that are going to want it, and we have to know how to handle it when it does happen. Like, I wrote a process. If a customer's coming in for internet customer, they've already agreed on price, numbers, everything is ready to rock and roll. This is where we have the car. This is where we do this. This is the time that we do this. This is how we present everything out. This is what we do. If a customer wants an at-home delivery, this is when we get it processed in detail. This is how we get the paperwork ready. We do everything. This is the steps, because that is going to be a continual way that we do business from this day forward, because, as we know, digital retailing is not going to catch up, in my opinion, anytime soon.
Great.
And so it is a physical person who's going to have to do this. And we just have to continually get faster and better at it.
Yeah.
And advertise that we do it.
Yeah, exactly. And we're on the same page, and we talk to a lot of smart people in our industry, and there's so many things. We talk, bigger, badder, smarter throughout this whole process, That's what we got to get better at, but then I look at, like, our phone tracking system, right? We record every phone call, inbound, outbound. And we're always listening and coaching and trying to figure out what did we do right? What did we do wrong? We just recently created a customer relations position. So every customer complaint, concern, compliment, whatever, it touches her, and her job is to grab it and to embrace it. And she goes out there and handles it. We've got so many different positions in the dealership, and we developed a set of core values here that we live by it, and when we apply those core values to it, customers love us,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody complains. Let me take that back. The customers that love us and that see our core values and see us living them out never say to us, "Oh, that process took too long," right? Because you know why Carvana has a 7-day return policy? Because it's buyer's remorse. Why is it buyer's remorse? Because nobody sold the sizzle, right? If I sent you into Outback Steakhouse, I probably shouldn't drop names of restaurants, right? But they don't typically come out and do a meat presentation like a Ruth Chris or somebody like that would do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I get it. But I took the steak from one of these fancy steakhouses and slid it into Outback, and it came out. Like, you might bite into it and you'll be like, "Oh, that's not too bad for an Outback steak," but it was really a Ruth Chris steak that we just slid out from the chef, and you didn't know that. But you go into Ruth Chris and you tell everybody, "Oh, it was amazing," and everything else. same cut of steak, but it was the presentation behind it. It was the sizzle, it was the sell, it was everything else, right? It was the ambiance of it all, and I think that's one of those things that we as a car dealership, when people say, I want to go to Carvana, or I want to go to this place, or I want to go to this place, because I don't like salespeople. Listen, we're not salespeople. We're here to actually explain to you what you're buying. And if you like the 7-day return policy, that's great. That's because you're having like buyer's remorse over this. Here's what I can do for you. I can put you in the car for 24 hours and let you drive it all over town. Except I'm not letting you take a pickup truck on Saturday to go move your in-laws out of the house.
That happens, everybody.
Oh my goodness. It's like clockwork, right? Hey, I really want to know if you do extended test drives. I want to take it over for the weekend. I got to show my wife. Where is she right now? Sitting next to me. Come on down. Well, can we just have it for the weekend? You have to move? Maybe.
Love it. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, yeah, I mean, it's an ever evolving thing. And as we get through all of the pandemic, we'll see everything come about. But yeah, it's we have to continually sell the sizzle, and the experience, and empower our people. I think that's how you get smarter, bigger, better, badder, smarter. Everything is empowering your people to do the right thing, because the right thing is always the right thing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to customer service, and when it comes to taking care of your customers and your employees, the right thing is always the right thing. And there's no other way of doing it other than just doing the right thing. And empowering them to be able to make decisions, ultimately to take care of the customer, but also understand that they're taking care of the company. They're not just willy-nilly and giving $5,000 gift cards out because we didn't wash their car after an oil change. Obviously we have to have some discretion here, but having them empowered to be able to take care of the customer ultimately makes you better, faster, and smarter.
Yeah. And we just had this conversation recently, because the young lady that's handling, any questions or concerns, we want her coming to us like with major, or people going to her with major concerns, right? Somebody calls up and says, hey, I'm looking at my Monroney label. It says floor mats, but I don't see the floor mats in there. Yeah, no, must have missed it. Get them ordered, and have them in within 24 to 48 hours and in the customer's car. Let's move on. I don't need you to, I don't need an executive order signed by the President of the United States granting permission to put floor mats into a car. It's just, right? But we do it, right? We need to empower people. The Ritz-Carlton does it. They let people, walk around empowered to do things. It's just, I think that's the biggest thing too, to, stay on the BDC side of things, right? We've got to empower our BDC reps. I always tell them the United States government trusts you to drive a car, to vote, and to pay taxes. So I trust you to say some things on the phone, to get people in here. I never want you to lie, cheat, or steal a customer on the phone. But listen, if somebody calls up and says, hey, do you have that car available? Can I buy it today? Like, let's not muddy the water. Yes, that's it. Come on in. Let's not muddy the water. So don't start asking a bunch of questions. Well, do you want to finance? Do you want to pay cash? You like red balloons? What do you think of clowns? I mean, we don't need to open it up, And that's the biggest thing when it comes to BDC. It's slowing down, listening. What's a customer really saying? We deal with it a lot of times when the customer says, I want your best number. This is a better example. I'm at this dealership, and before I drive to your dealership, I want to see if you can beat the number. Have you gone there yet? Well, no, not yet. We'll go there and get your number and then call me. Well, you're not going to do it first? No. I want to be the last guy to give you numbers, not the first guy. You're 4.5 hours away. You've got to pass 5 Chevy dealerships to get to me. You know what, sir? Get all the numbers you want in the world and call me up with them, and I'll beat it, Because at the end of the day, what if he doesn't buy from me, what am I losing? I'm not losing a service customer. I'm not losing, I'm really kind of probably losing a bad CSI survey at that point, but if they call up and say, hey, I live 4 streets over, and for some reason this dealer's marketing in your market, and they said they can sell me an Equinox for $15,000, can you do that? I'm going to figure out what I got to do or how they got there, and retain that customer that's going to be a service customer.
Mm-hmm.
The customer that calls up and says, hey, my car's dirty. It's never been dirty when I left your dealership, and this is like my 18th oil change. complimentary detail on us, coupon coming your way, but the person that calls up and says, hey, I just had a car shipped to me from your dealership and I live in New Mexico and there's a fly on the window and it's splattered, I want a new windshield. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we tried to call and clear all the flies out of the way, but you've been in it long enough. You've seen it.
Yep.
It's, but we empower our BDC agents and we want them to ask those questions. Like when somebody calls up and says something that's just like, hey, I want the out the door number. Yeah, sure. I'll get it for you. Are you asking for the out the door number because you have your own bank or using one of our banks? Right? Have you already received an offer, a number, or do I have to beat anybody's price? Because when customers like hold back all that information, we want them to tell the customer, hey, let down your guard. We're here to help. Like, don't hold this other dealership's number secret. Just tell me what it is. If I can't beat it, I'll tell you to go buy from them.
Yeah.
But if I can beat it, don't you want that? Well, yeah. Because what ends up happening is I go, yeah, I can do 40,000. Well, they were going to do 38,000. Well, why didn't you tell me that? We're not a 503c here. We're not, we're going to make some money if we can.
And no, that's the biggest thing. And teaching and coaching your BDC to be able to handle those calls is obviously, it's the beginning of the running a BDC. But I mean, it's the nature of how many people don't know how to handle that call and how to handle, because customers will ask the question, "What's your best price?" And we go into objection mode.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, they just asked the question.
We do a Monday morning meeting. I split the BDC up in half because I don't know if we talk a lot, but I don't spend like hours. I get Jake in the BDC. I'm handling the marketing, the advertising, working on a whole bunch of other projects. But every Monday I spend 30 minutes with one half and then the other 30 minutes with the other half of the BDC. And that's one of the things I say to them is, why are they asking about best price? And they're like, because they want it. And I'm like, nah, it's because somebody told them they had to ask about price. 9 times out of 10, they really don't care about what the best price is. They just don't know what to say when they get on the phone with you. And if you just ask why they want the best price and find out what's going on here, usually you can get through a whole bunch of objections that you're about to create when you say, hold on, let me get that best price for you, And we will always give them the price. I mean, I'm not one of these hold back on price, but let's find out why they need all this information. And the other thing is it builds a rapport, right? We're breaking down walls. I mean, listen, sometimes I go to I'm looking at trying to buy a smartwatch right now. Me, the techie, geeky digital guy here, doesn't have a smartwatch. I've never found value in it because I can just look at my phone. Now I want a smartwatch, mainly because I want to exercise, and I think it'll help me figure out if I'm dying or not. And I think you can say call, I better not say it because my phone will go off, but I think you can say call like the emergency responders, and it will. But
is that for if you start exercising?
Yes, that's exactly why. Yeah.
Clear that up.
Yeah. So, so I started researching smartwatches, and I'm reading into it, and I'm like, this is just a smartwatch. This isn't even a car. I can't imagine what people go through, right? Because I'm looking at all these different ones, and like Samsung Galaxy makes like 3 of the same watch, but then one has LTE, and I'm like, well, what's that mean? And it's like, oh, well, you don't even need your phone. You can just have your watch. I'm like, well, that's genius. And then I get to the price. I'm like, I can still carry my phone and have my watch next to me. Like, I don't need that. I'm not trying to land a spaceship in my backyard. But, looking at that, right, we don't know. They have 41 mm and 45 mm, which obviously is millimeters. I didn't know what that meant, right? I'm like, oh, is that the band size? I had to Google what it meant and find out that it was screen size. So when we look at consumers, they don't know that stuff. So you know what my question is if I was going to go out there and ask somebody, what's the best watch for the best price? Why? Because I don't know where to start. So let's just start with money, and it's we've got to ask some more questions and find out what the real thing is. I mean, we don't walk into the doctor's office and go, hey, how much is it for an EKG before I tell you my chest hurts?
Maybe I'll start doing it that way. Before you start, doc, how much?
Will this hit my deductible or not?
Yeah. I only got this much in the way my bank account and my checking account and my savings account is set up. I can't do this. But yeah, that's what I'm going to start doing. But I want to thank you, Matt, so much for being on the show. I know we've been trying to get this put together for, I can't tell you how long. It's been a while.
It has.
And I appreciate you. For those of you, like there's probably 5 of you who don't know who Matt is, how can they find Matt and how can they reach out to you?
They can find me on Facebook or they can reach out to me. If they've ever got any questions, I love helping BDC managers out and stuff like that. So they can call me on my cell. It's 570-517-9331. And it doesn't hurt to shoot me a text first saying, hey, Matt, this is so-and-so. I'll be calling you. Because if I see a strange number coming in, if I'm in the middle of something, I'm like, I'll get to it. And I never check my voicemails. I'm one of those people. So if you shoot me a text and say, hey, I need some help, I'm in. I'll call you when I can get back to you or answer right then and there. But yeah.
And Matt is a Vin ninja. Is that right? Vin Solutions ninja?
Yeah, I kind of pride myself on knowing Vin Solutions very well. I've been on it for 8 years, and I love helping people out. I think you probably saw somebody the other day posted on Facebook. They called me about something, and that and Google Sheets. If you need help creating some, I got like a 17-page Google Sheet that BDC reps have to literally enter 4 fields, and it backfills everything else for the whole month. So
if you need help on, I might need that. So if you need anything from Matt, obviously reach out to him. I want to thank you so much, Matt. You know, you're one of the greatest guys in the auto space. Like that's the one thing I love about the automotive industry today and how it's changed is the good guys are taking over and the jerks are leaving this business. And that's amazing because it leaves space for guys like us that are going to innovate and change this industry. And so I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart because obviously we're good friends. And I want to thank you for being on the show. Stay safe. Everyone stay safe. COVID still exists. Even if you're probably listening to this in 2030. Like, what's COVID? Oh, that's probably still the vid still happen. Let's hope not, guys. Let's hope not. But everybody be safe. And thank you so much for tuning in.
Definitely. Thanks, Josh.